Hey y'all. Um, wow, I just sounded really southern. I don't know where that came from. Um, for those of you that just attended the CVI presentations done by Outreach with Sue and I didn't really get to show you anything, and so I've decided I'm gonna record myself going through the steps of what I do to create my videos and share it with you. Um, So the only way I know how to do that is through Google Meet and recording it. So this should be interesting. So bear with me. Um, so I create different CVI videos on using original children's books. The reason I do it this way is because I really am passionate about our CVI kids getting that social concept as well. And if they are reading one of our books with their peers, I want them to be able to connect through that book. So if their peers are reading that book with them and have read that book before, I want their peers to be able to say, "Oh yeah, that's Froggy," or "Oh yeah, that's Brown Bear. I read that book at home." And it looked just a little bit different, but not a lot from their peers, just so they can connect that way through books, because kids who are younger definitely tend to do that. Um, so that's why I take the original picture from the books, but I always try and use books that I've already purchased. And then also, I always put a little disclaimer saying that this was written by blah, blah, blah. It was adapted for kids with cortical visual impairment. So it's kind of put out there that I'm not trying to recreate or sell their book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present my screen and PowerPoint and how go through creating a couple slides on my new book, which is Little Quack. I'm super excited. It's a super cute book. And then, so I'll show you how to remove a background, how I insert sound, and then also kind of the steps to creating the video part of it. So let me just present. Oh, I'm seeing myself. That's kind of scary. Here we go. Okay. So hopefully you can see this is a finished one. The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which is also a really sweet book. But also I have a blank one. So whenever I'm starting out a new book, I always take the text from the previous book and copy it, Control C, and then go to the new PowerPoint and copy it into the first slide. Then I write the title of the book. This way I just know that the font and the color are always the same, because I am a little neurotic when it comes to stuff like that. It's just one of my little OCD things. I can't quite explain it, but that's just me. So then I just take that information and I try and make it as big as possible. If I have enough room, I'll increase the title to be bigger than the author, just because that's how things usually are. So then we'll go to the next page, and then what I do is I look at the first page of the book. So then after looking at the book, what happens is I look to see what the most important parts of the picture are. So for this one, the main parts are the mom and the ducklings. So when I go to my PowerPoint, I'll go to insert the picture. So what I do before I insert the picture, I better back up. What I do is I tend to Google the book first on Google Images and see if any of the pictures already pop up on Google, and I download them that way. If I can't find the picture I'm looking for, then I go through and I take pictures of each page. I always put that as a secondary, because we all know pages are glossy. Sometimes they don't take pictures right. You have to hold the page just right so you don't get the reflection. So that's why I just tend to have that be as my backup, even though usually I end up taking pictures anyways. But so I've already went through and taken pictures of each page and downloaded them. So I'm going to go to my insert tab, pictures from this device. And then I will go to where I save them. So each book I make has its own tab. So we're going to go to the little quack, and here's all the pictures I've taken. So this is the picture of the first book, so I'll insert it. And as you can see, I literally took a picture of the whole page. So sometimes it doesn't come in the right way, right? So I always go to the picture format and rotate it the correct way. So the next thing that I do is I want to get rid of all of this background, so it's just the mama duck and the 5 little ducklings. So I go to remove background, which is under picture format in the far left, and then I wait. So this takes a little bit for the computer to catch up sometimes because it's filtering through such a detailed picture. So what I do is I let it do that. And then the purple part, it'll come up purple. The purple part is what it's getting to erase. So as you can see, it's erasing some things I don't want it to. So then I will go to mark areas to keep. Mark areas to keep. Come on, computer. And then it'll give me a little pen once it's done that. So what I do is you click and hold and drag the pen over the parts you want it to keep. So then, as you can see, it did that, but then it also undid some other things in the picture. So you literally work through this until you have all the things you want it to keep. So sometimes it goes really smoothly, and other times it kicks you out like that. So then if it does this, what you can do is go back to picture format, remove background again, and it brings back the whole original picture every time. And you just go back to marking areas to keep. And then once you've marked all of your areas you want it to keep, then you go and see if there's any areas you want gone. So, for example, I do not want the rocks and the dirt and the grass that is in the background. I want those to be gone. So what I'm going to do is, oops, let me fix Mother Duck's little tongue over here. What I do is I click on the mark areas to remove button, and then I just drag it across and have it delete whatever I don't want. So now I have everything selected that I want to stay. If you notice, this little duck has little pieces of hair that come off, and some of it is erased. Because it's our kiddos with CVI, they're not going to notice that detail, so I don't sit and fret over a detail like that. So once you're done, you can click on the keep changes, and there's our picture. So I tend to move the pictures around the screen to help my kiddos kind of work on tracking as well as the page turns. So if you ever notice in my videos, the picture can sometimes be in the bottom left, sometimes the upper right, sometimes the middle left. It just changes to keep working on that. So now that I've had the picture, I want to insert the audio. So I go to insert. All the way to the right, there's audio. I click audio, and I click record audio. I always record the audio because my main thing right now is I want my students to hear my voice so I can keep connecting with them and they are familiar with my voice. A lot of my kids have multiple disabilities, and this is just the main focus right now. So what I would do is I would get my book, and I would get ready to read, and I would hit record. And then we'll just do a test. Mama Duck had 5 little ducklings. And then you hit stop. And I usually listen to it over because sometimes either it doesn't pick up on the speaker, my cat knocked something over in the background, a truck drove by with my window open, and the audio just doesn't sound that great. So I always try to listen to it beforehand. But if it's the way you want it, you hit OK. And then it shows up this little speaker. I keep them really small and just put them in the bottom right-hand corner every time, unless there's a picture in the way. When you create your video, that speaker will still be there. So that's why I try and keep it as small as possible, just to refrain from distraction. But it's not something that we can get rid of. So And then I would just continue to go through the book and continue to work on it that way. So say I finish the book now and I want to export it. I just figured out how to do screen recording. Haha, learned something new today. Yes, people. All right. So we're going to go to File. And then on the left-hand side, just before the close, you'll see Export. And you'll click on that. And then it'll bring up different ways you can export this. So what I always click is Create Video, which is the third one down. And then it comes up with all these different features you can do for your video. I never change these. The one time I did, I messed up my entire video and really frustrated myself. So it says don't use recorded timings and narrations. It still uses the audio because it doesn't count the audio as a narration. And then also it says seconds spent on each slide, 5. If your audio recording is more than 5 seconds, it will continue to stay on that slide. It will not cut it off. So I've had a audio recording that's been 15, 20 seconds on a page before, and it has finished the entire audio before going to the next page. So then what I would do is hit Create Video. And then it asks me where I want to save it. So with mine, I always just save it in the folder. And a funny little thing pops up with mine because I don't have my, oh gosh, what's it called? My OneDrive set up the way I should because, again, I'm not very good with that. It always tries to save it in my OneDrive and then says you don't have it set up correctly, and so I have to reroute it, but it should save to wherever you click. So I go to the little ducklings folder, or little quack, I'm sorry, and I will save it as the name of the book. So little quack. And as you can see, it always saves it as an MP4, which is really nice because it can be uploaded to almost anything. So then I would hit save, and it works on exporting it. So sometimes the longer your video or the longer your PowerPoint is, the longer it takes to do this. Other times it's really quick. So once it's saved, you have the MP4 version. It's super cool. I always save my PowerPoint too in case I ever want to go back and edit, which was a really good thing that I did because I realized I mixed up the author on one book at one point. So I had to go back and fix that. But yeah, that is basically how I do it. I always have my slides blank. I never have like any text in them because I can always add it later. And I always do a black background unless I know the kid needs a different background. Yeah, I tend to make them more universal CVI than specific for a certain kid unless I know that kid needs it a specific way and I'm only using it for this child. But yeah, that is how I do my videos. I really hope you enjoyed it. And please feel free to ever text me with any questions. I love this stuff. So yeah, have a wonderful day. See you later.